Small business is about courage, risk-taking, independence, and we small business owners are survivors. Everybody has an idea for a business, but how do you take that idea from mind to market? This is the place to learn.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
It's a new kind of school. Together we'll learn about business from the inside out, from the people who've done it. We'll meet the men and women who are today's pioneers and quiet heroes. Their lives are the textbooks. Our classroom is the world.
Small Business School is made possible by support from the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you. And by Microsoft.
We see you building a new company from an old company. We see a business full of potential. We're inspired to create software that helps you reach it.
Hi, I'm Hattie Bryant. Since 1994, entrepreneurs have been launching internet-based companies, and so many have met with huge failure. Billions of dollars have been lost and personal fortunes wiped out because it was not the right idea at the right time in the right place. For this reason, we've never told the story of a pure dot-com play because we only look at companies who've created jobs for a decade, who are the best in their industry, and loved in their own community. Finally, we found a dot-com that began as a brick-and-mortar business, and it is now extending its valuable intellectual property to reach billions of people. The divorce rate in the USA is over 50%. We're all impacted by it. Many of us have been through a divorce. It's not good for anyone, for the couple, for the families, for society, and for our businesses. We all lose. We'll take you now inside a company that has decided its goal is to literally change the world for the better. This bride met this groom on eHarmony.com.
I, John, take you, Cindy, to be my...
I pronounced you husband and wife in the name of the Father and the Son.
Go, ladies. 1, 2, 3.
If you could reduce the divorce rate from where it is now to single digits, 9 or fewer percent, it would be the greatest single social revolution in the history of the human race. And all of a sudden, America would be such a different country. Over 90% of all singles want to be married if they can find the right person. So they deeply want to get married. In fact, for a lot of people, it becomes a burning yearning. The choice you make of a marriage partner will have more to do with the eventual success of your marriage than everything else combined that you do after you get married.
In 1993, Dr. Neil Clark Warren wrote the book, Finding the Love of Your Life. Then in 1995, Greg Forgatch joined him to launch their first company to offer seminars based upon the principles in the book.
If you compare this to what we were saying.
In August of 2000, the two opened their second business, eHarmony.com. Today, the service is being used by millions of paying customers.
Finding a mate for life is something that most of us really desire, that companionship. But how to go about doing it well is maybe one of the largest unmet consumer needs that is out there today.
And the biggest trend right now, 55 million people, singles, from America got on the internet last year and went to dating sites. It's a hot, hot item. And did we just happen into that? Yes.
Right time, right place.
Right time, right place, and fullness of time.
eHarmony really came out of a mission of there's something that's not being done very well. This is a really complex task. How do we do it well? How can we do it better?
What our research kept saying is if you find somebody whose intelligence is a lot like yours, whose ambition is a lot like yours, whose energy is a lot like yours, whose spirituality is a lot like yours, whose curiosity is a lot like yours, it was a similarity model. And so that's what we say all the time. These are the two principles we believe in, emotional health and finding somebody who's a lot like you.
At eHarmony.com, anyone can take the free personality profile. Answer the 436 questions. And what is easy to use and seems like common sense today is the result of decades of work by Neil Clark Warren.
People come to therapy after they're in deep trouble. And so I saw so many marriages die. And so I started saying, gee, Christmas, you know.
Was that depressing?
Oh, very depressing. I want to try to understand, why did these marriages die? So I did 512 divorce autopsies. Now this is an effort to look at why the marriage died, just the way you look at a patient. Why did they die physically?
Right.
And I'd go way back, and I would court information. I'd court people who could give me information, kids and everything. Why did the marriage die? In 75% of the cases, in those 512 divorce autopsies, I found that the marriage was in deep trouble the day it began.
We formed Neil Clark Warren and Associates to take a book he wrote, Finding Love of Your Life, landed him on Oprah. It's now in 17 languages, nearing 1 million copies sold. And that message of how to choose a marriage partner, we were going to teach singles across the country.
Okay.
And so we started developing teaching tools to do just that.
I held 150 seminars all over the country, wrote the book and so forth. Thought that was enough, just to educate them.
Right.
And then the people started coming to me and saying, the women would say, are there any good men out there? I mean, yeah, you told me how to choose between a bad man and a good man, but I don't have very many men. And men would say the same thing, are there any good women out there?
Well, we thought, let's build teaching materials. Let's build, how do we leverage? And the way to leverage would be take what Neil does in a seminar, get him out of the airplane and the taxi and all the travel, which you know how hard that is, and package him into video, audio, and testing instruments, and mass market franchise Dr. Neil Clark Warren and his teachings. And in doing so, we also said, let's wholesale. If there's a dating service industry, which at the time was offline, it was the walk-in brick and mortar, we'll help get you set up with somebody, or you look through books and you find somebody. Let's give them these teaching tools. Shouldn't they be great promoters of this material to the audience that we're really trying to get to? What a great way to wholesale and thus distribute our teaching materials in greater volume than one at a time through mass marketing direct to the communication, to the population. It didn't work.
I mean, the reason I know it didn't work is that there's turf we're talking about here.
There's turf. When they have so many dollars they think they're going to extract out of their consumers.
Once a single person decides to use the site, she or he enters into a safe, secure environment where the hard work of finding the right person is done by computer.
And so what we want to do at eHarmony is put them in a room of compatible people and then let them do the same selection process that they normally do, but know that they've got that compatibility at the front end. So it's really putting the cart behind the horse.
And we had all this information, and we wanted to build the best site we possibly could. We knew we needed more empirical research, and that is highly, highly technical. So we bring in a Galen. Galen is outrageous. I mean, he is so good.
He wanted to take what he had been seeing anecdotally, but make sure that it stood the test of empirical research.
Dr. Galen Buckwalter is Director of Research.
The first thing we had to do was come up with some research design, because the goal was to be able to put together people, singles, in a way that they were going to be compatible. Obviously, we weren't in the mood to do a 20-year study and put together people and see who turned out to have good marriages. So we spent probably the first 6 months working together, just putting together our questionnaire. Then we identified a group of married individuals who took this questionnaire. And at that point, it was an extremely long questionnaire. We fine-tuned the questionnaire, identified items that were working well for us, got it down to the current form, which is closer to an hour. Then we gave it to close to 1,000 people, and got our final model.
The initial stages of developing the product were to see if the product even existed.
So that's what that is, 60% of 66.
No, that's a summation. Go to it.
Dr. Steve Carter is Director of Product Development.
It seems like he's got a good handle. We didn't decide we had a product until we had a scientific understanding and a good scientific base to decide that we had a successful way of doing it.
What we are interested in is not responses to individual questions, but rather responses to patterns of what we call factors.
Almost like predicting the success of a stock, Galen explained that complex algorithms are used in factoring the data to predict preferences and accurately assess the 29 dimensions.
We ask you 436 questions. There's not one of those questions that is a duplicate. We don't replicate questions all over the place to just make it hard for you, but we ask you everything we can think to ask you. And let me tell you, fundamentally, it goes down to this one theoretical point. Everybody gets married because of compatibility. Everybody does.
Right.
The only difference between the marriages that last and the marriages that don't last is how broad-based the compatibility is.
Okay.
If you fall in love from the outside in, then my biggest fear is that you never really go in there to look. And if you don't go in there to look, most of the important dimensions are inside a person.
As a scientist yourself, and an academician, and a researcher, have you been surprised at the success, the actual commoditization of data that you crunched and you dreamed that it might work? Are you surprised?
It stuns me, yeah. Every time that I have a friend at Yale, she got on eHarmony, met someone. Another good friend of mine, I mean, he programs virtual reality scenarios, total propeller head. I ran into him a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't know I had anything to do with eHarmony. I was asking about his life, and he was like, yeah, I did all this research on dating services and picked the best one totally that's available out there is eHarmony. I was like, yeah.
We don't have any links going out of eHarmony. We take what users are, what they're doing at eHarmony, their experience, that seriously, that we're going to take care of them. So we're not going to promote to them Club Med or some travel trip. Okay. We're going to respect their privacy. We're going to respect how intimate and important this is in their life. And we recognize that the medium of the internet would really allow for the leverage to distribute the service. It's all an intellectual property-based system. Right. You can complete the questionnaire. We can assess it in our algorithms, in our modeling, and we can provide you the results online, and we can do it entirely automated. And so it has no human interaction. And when you put all those elements together, the efficiency in launching eHarmony with 10 people, an entire staff, and really it became quite a model for leverage.
It's not the typical dating service. And as a result of that, we initially, and we continue to attract women at much higher rates than other matching services. They feel comfortable. And if you are attracting intelligent, matchable women, you have success. The men will follow. It's guaranteed.
Really?
It's guaranteed.
Camille Paglia said that. Every woman has exactly what every man wants.
Yeah, that's a fact. And eHarmony has what men want, that being women. And we got them because we are safe and we allow them to control the process.
There was a tremendous element and frustration and challenge to overcome because the image of the dating service industry had a lot of operators who really were in it for the dollar, who quickly linked you to that industry of pornography, even though you thought you were looking for a dating service in the form that it was in those days. Right. So we had to make sure we did that right. And we delayed launching eHarmony about 18 months until we continued another version of the modeling, another research of married couples, and again, another building of the modeling to make sure that it was done. It was a struggle.
Yeah, this should be launching in a couple weeks.
We've been identified as the fastest growing service, and the brand is growing faster than anything in the country today. I think that we've kind of hit that tipping point. Our marriages are happier than marriages, I like to say, who met in the wild. And with that kind of proof and that kind of proven research, there's a tremendous amount of momentum. And Greg Steiner is a vice president of operations, and John Ward participates with our business development, and he's developing relationships with partners on the internet and
the
forming.
Ones that used to, when you started, didn't want to play.
We just learned that the online dating service industry as a whole has exceeded the spend It used to be pornography was the most spent subscription service, and so it's nice to see that something good is passing it.
Over $1 billion are being spent right now by people trying to find the love of their life, and 1/3 of that is on the internet. At the time of this writing, there were close to 2 million hits on the word matchmaker in Google. Neil Clark Warren and Greg Forgatch brought to the world the right service at the right time. Divorce is so painful, singles are turning to science for help, and the research brought to bear by the eHarmony team is changing the entire world of dating. Neil and Greg have made some bold assumptions. First, they knew how to help singles find the love of their life, and second, they would not be deterred from using the greatest communication tool in the history of civilization just because the sex business, aka dating services, had already positioned themselves so firmly on the internet. Rather than being shunned by the serious singles who in the past had never considered using what many thought was a sleazy way to find a date, eHarmony influence has caused some of the sleazy operations to get out of the gutter. As we keep learning here over and over and over, solve a person's problem and you have a business. The problem singles face today is not about a date or sex. The problem is, how do I find my soulmate? eHarmony is indeed helping millions solve this problem. If you'd like to know more about what you've seen on this broadcast, go to smallbusinessschool.org.
The most important single thing in getting married right is to start with an emotionally healthy you, and then you find an emotionally healthy other. Now you have a real chance.
Thank you for calling eHarmony.
Today, millions have a chance at eHarmony.
You have any idea what the chat volume is?
And it's the VP of Operations, Greg Steiner, who has to keep the intricate infrastructure functioning under the weight of fast growth.
The chat team able to keep up with the volume that's coming in? Do we have any really good data on the FAQ? And we make the place run. So we make every effort possible to make sure we have a very highly available service, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, so people can come and find the love of their life anytime they wish.
Marilyn Warren has been married to Neil Clark since 1959. She's responsible for working with the media.
I get an opportunity to talk to our successful couples, which is really our favorite thing to do because they have such extraordinary stories and they're so full of enthusiasm. We had taken some stills of a lot of our couples, and we had a wonderful photographer. And the thing I love about this is it's such a spontaneous picture, and I think it tells the story about what happens when people meet on eHarmony and their lives are totally changed.
There are about 3,000 of these dating sites, and when we started, I promise you that we were number 3,000.
Greg says he and Neil came close to quitting.
In March of 2001, Neil knows exactly where he was sitting in his office, and I know where I was sitting, when Neil said, if we close our doors now, we could give back, we have enough money to give back on a pro rata basis all the subscriptions that have been purchased, close our doors, we never have had debt, and everybody will be whole, and we can close this down respectfully. And here's the challenge in March of 2001 was we didn't have the critical mass. We weren't making enough matches. So here we were the prior month about to show
you were going to quit.
We were going to take care of people. We were going to quit.
You were going to quit.
So we came to two conclusions. One was we had to just stay relentlessly to the task, that is, keep our eyes on the goal. And the second was that we had to avoid the leaders of organizations and jump over the top and get to the end user. Right. And as soon as we did that, we began to have a lot more success. And you got to just wait for your chance. And here's what I think the secret is. Figure out how it is that you can take your idea and you can reach a large number of people and then begin to build your cadre of people to the extent that you can afford it. Get some financing along the way if you have an idea that other people respond to, and then run down the line. And just keep going until you find your opening. And we found our opening in television and radio.
As soon as I saw Paul, I knew he was the one.
The 4-part formula to their winning ad campaign is 1. Happy customers.
I love my husband.
Hi, I'm Dr. Neil Clark.
2. Neil Clark's credibility. 3. Repeating the business name.
With eHarmony.
At eHarmony.com.
And 4. A call to action.
Profile absolutely free.
And so I do think that idea of just keep working your dream and just keep trying as much as you can and wait for your moment where the line opens up and you see some daylight.
Wow, 15,000 a day.
New people a day.
New
and that's
people.
growing at 15 to 20% a month.
Have you ever said to the marketing people, stop it?
Occasionally, yes.
It's like, I can't take it anymore.
It's a constant battle.
You're killing me.
43% of all people over 18 in this country are single.
Okay.
Now, most of them have never been around a single really good marriage. But do they want it? Oh my gosh. I mean, they are so pulling for a good marriage for themselves.
How does a commercial operation like this get and keep a person of your interest, your academic background, your love of research?
Probably, quite frankly, the number one reason is Neil Clark Warren himself. I respect that man, more than most anyone else in life. But the problem, the scientific problem that we're dealing with is endlessly fascinating. It's a huge problem. It's every bit as complex as studying brain aging, and the human beast is endlessly fascinating, and in relationships doubly so. You have two people you're trying to predict.
So you're here because it's fascinating.
It's fascinating, and the process up until this point has been one of rigor and integrity, and to continue, we need to always be moving on.
So we now have 6 different models all working simultaneously when we're matching people, and we're going to continue the furthering of the product development on the matching model and the algorithms and what really works.
Yeah, let's take a look at the data you're talking about.
It takes 10 times to 15 times longer to complete our profile than any dating service. We then ask people to pay 2.5 times what the dating service industry charges.
Right.
3 times as many people are converting to eHarmony than the dating service industry. So we convert more people, 3 to 4 times as many, and they still pay 2.5 times more than the dating service industry because of what we offer.
We didn't play by their rules either, which is part of the issue as well. Right. I mean, the integrity that's gone into the scientific modeling is on a par with any work that's being done. But we didn't publish our model in journals.
You took it straight to the people who want to use it.
To people, they're using it. And why they're using it, that's what I find a terribly fascinating question.
So we think we're on the tip of the iceberg of how to really assess compatibility. So one thing as leading this business is to make sure that we don't get complacent.
Very few people are encouraged to dream a big dream for their lives. And I put that as chapter number 1 in my book on marriage. I said, dream a big dream for your marriage. If you can dream a big dream as a single person for your life, then you have a real shot at finding all the pieces that make up the culmination, the actualizing of that dream. And I think we've dreamed a big dream for our business. We would love to change the culture. For every 1% that you can reduce the divorce rate in America, it will affect 1 million people in one generation. That's our dream. I am the luckiest man on earth, and that's what I feel. I feel like I'm the luckiest man on earth to have this effort that I can be central to reach so many people for good.
1 eHarmony is another great story about the power of an idea. Neil says he is lucky, and so are we, that we met him and the team of eHarmony. And there are the lucky couples like John and Cindy who are starting life together on strong footing because they found eHarmony. I'll see you next time.
Small Business School is made possible by support from the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you. And by Microsoft.
We see you building a new company from an old company. We see a business full of potential. We're inspired to create software that helps you reach it.
If you want to learn more about starting, running, and growing a business, come to our website, smallbusinessschool.org. There's streaming video and interactive study guides. The only way we can compete with big business is to be faster, smarter, and better. We are the engine of the American economy. We create the jobs. Small business is about big commitment. It's about sacrifice and struggle. But we do it because we say, if I don't do this, my life won't be complete.